get into questions, because it's going to be a bunch of questions. So do you have anything else you want to share about the conflict, or that you want to share?
Yeah, sure. 1 second. Oh, sorry. Hold on 1 sec.
Yeah, all right. So while we wait on Hermela to come back, oh, that was a quick second. And she's back.
Like 1 sec, literally. Okay, here's one point, okay? Again, I think I have to remind people that I am Tigrayan, ethnic Tigrayan, right? Like the idea that an ethnic Tigrayan cannot be against this dominating political group that didn't do anything for my ethnicity or the people of my ethnicity in that region, the idea that I can't stand up and say no to that is, first of all, an example of how the TPLF ruled for 27 years. You cannot have an opinion that does not correspond exactly to theirs, or else they'll kill you. Me being Tigrayan doesn't matter if I don't agree with them, right? They've killed their own people in that region. They killed their own political descendants, one. Two, what I want to know, and I've asked this from the very beginning, how many Tigrayan people, poor Tigrayans that do not actually have a voice because the diaspora seems to be speaking to the elite political leadership as opposed to for the people, how many of them have died in this war? We don't know. When all is said and done, it could be that, hundreds of thousands of Tigrayans have died in this, right? And because they're under this hostage situation in this region and they're not allowed to speak out because of the oppressive, dominating political group, we just don't really know. So it's like, how many of them have to die again? They did it 50 years ago for them to get into power, and now they have to do it again when they didn't get anything off of that. The TPLF had a huge debt to ethnic Tigrayans because for 17 years, so many died for them to come back into power. Right? And before they repay that debt by rebuilding that region and giving the people basics like water, access to water, they want the people, the next generation, to die again in what? Hopes of maybe this time around they'll do right by their people? It's like a ludicrous ask of the Tigrayan people to support this group when they've already seen what they're not able or not willing to do for their own people. So people don't talk about the soldiers. The people in the diaspora, they're like, they think they're tough. They're all pro-war, sitting up here in the diaspora on their Twitters and on their Facebook accounts, but they never really care about their poor brethren that are in Tigray that are having to die for this.
I see. There's a question down here that says, Dave, can you ask me, please, if America doesn't deal with terrorist organizations, why should Ethiopia? I mean, that is a question. Like, I know America has the public policy that they don't negotiate with terrorists, and they really don't. So then why should the Ethiopian government, I guess this person is asking, why should they deal with Tigrayan terrorists?
Yeah, because they're a black nation? Is it because they're a developing nation? Is it because it's a nation that's trying to get its people out of poverty? Like, that seems to be the reason. Every time a developing nation gets a leader that is more equitable and that's trying to do right by their people, there's a whole army of international infrastructure that weaves this narrative that this person is a bad person, they're pro-genocide, they're trying to kill a specific group, and they handicap them through war. As long as we're fighting, we can't work on that economic progress, right? So the people that are pro-TPLF are really anti-Black, in my opinion. They're anti-African, they're anti-marginalized groups, because they are the ones that are working with Western governments, whoever it is, the hardliners within the U.S. and other parts, because I don't think it's the whole U.S., because this is not really advantageous to the whole U.S. to once again have another mess on their hands. But there's some hardliners that are working. I mean, it's your own people, right? It's your own people that will sell you out.
So, okay. So, ladies, it's a bunch of, we're back up to 35 questions. 8 people want to join the live. I have over 100 DMs. Okay. Clearly, I'm not going to get to all of this. So what I'm going to do is just pick those questions.
I asked for terrorists themselves.
Hmm?
The hashtag Tigray genocide folks, they operate like a cult. What they do is they'll send all their people to come DM you, pressure you. They'll call your job. They'll call, like, whatever they need to do. They'll threaten you just to force their narrative in, because that's how they've operated for a year, and that's how they have seen their own political leadership operate. So they're used to winning through force. They're used to winning through harassment.
So they have a hashtag. What is it? Their hashtag?
Founded, by the way.
Okay, but the hashtag that you guys support is no more. So can you explain the no more hashtag?
Yeah, it's no more war, no more war in these, African and South American and Middle Eastern countries. Like, we are not just destined for war and famine. We are not savages that are tribalist in nature that kill each other for no reason. Like, that is a narrative that has been woven for decades. So every time a war erupts in a certain type of country, you just go, oh, there we go again. When you really look at it, though, it's something that is orchestrated by external, really powerful element. So it's like, it's just kind of reinforcing the stereotypes. Ethiopia, famine. Okay, so why is it in famine though? Why? Because humanitarian aid officials are working with this rebel group to redirect humanitarian aid. I mean, there isn't indications of famine yet, but at this point, because the TPLF held these humanitarian aid trucks hostage, they couldn't come back to Addis and go back and feed the people again. So now the Ethiopian government, unfortunately, has to make the decision that they do have to restrict aid, because the last few months when they let it in, it was returned to fight their own people.
Okay, so one person has another question. All right. How do you think the division created among the different ethnic groups by the TPLF during their reign uprooted, I guess, Ethiopians once and for all? Like, so let's just talk about that. It sounds like there's a bunch of ethnic groups that are fighting, right? I know that here in the States, we go through the same thing. There's even if you want to get into colorism in the States, right? Light skin against dark skin. When you go into different countries, there's always, dark skinned, natives versus the mixed natives that have mixed with Europeans. There's always this big thing about colorism. But now we're dealing with Ethiopia, and I'm gonna say it's more of an ethnic thing. I don't know if it's a color thing. Why is there such a division between all the ethnicities? Meaning, Amharans, Amoru, Tigrayans, all that. Why is that there? Was that started by the TPLF, or was that something that already existed in Ethiopia? Maybe, TG, you might know more. But was that division of the ethnicities there the entire time? Did the TPLF?
Yeah, it is because there was in the history, like there's back in the day, 100 years now, whatever, there was Amhara and Oromo people. Like Oromo and Amhara people have some issue because the Amhara people being like, they used to be on the power, like the key, like for example, King Haile Selassie, he was a Amhara, Menelik was a Amhara, whatever. So for some reason, the Oromo people was under kind of feeling like second class citizen, whatever, for a long time in the history. So what TPLF use is that history, they bring that backup history from 100 years, and then telling them the Amhara people who used to do this to you, throughout the history, like throughout the 27 years. So they create that division, even though that was there a long time ago, before the TPLF in power. People was just getting married, Amhara and Oromo. Like my mom is Oromo, my dad is Amhara. They get married. My dad is from northern Gondar. My dad is from Harar. They get married, and then they make me. So Oromo and Amhara people put the division or their bad side is down, and they start getting married and living together. But when TPLF take over, they start bringing out this to Oromo, saying like a lot of bad things. So the Oromo start feeling like, yeah, we've been oppressed for so long time, blah, blah. But then in the meantime, the TPLF group is still oppressing the Oromo. They were killing them, ton of young Oromos children killed and inflated to other countries, die on the street. Everything happened to Oromo people. But the things about like this ethnicity group, they don't really think, not all of them, but like they have certain group from that Oromo group think like something weird. So the TPLF use them like a puppet, like use them like do this, do that. I'm like, they were abusing you with the entire Ethiopia, no Amhara, Oromo, or other ethnicity, and the entire Ethiopia. They were abusing for 27 years. All of a sudden, now they want power, and they tell you, when we take a power, we're gonna give you a power. You still be a puppet. So it's like the ethnicity issue has been there, but when
They
the
exploited
TPLF
it.
talk over, it's kind of stop popping out. Everybody's questioning, everybody hating each
So,
other, everybody feeling like superior to another. So they create that kind of division because they the Tigrayan, so they make the Tigrayan who's the better people, and then they create that hate between Tigray and other Ethiopians, basically the whole entire Ethiopian. They create that before. I mean, before even this war happened, there was a little bit, you know, intentions between, because what they do is they put their own brother, sister who doesn't even have education, like a job, and sending them outside the country. They give them, so people start seeing like, including the whole Tigrayan, are using the country resource, which is not true. As Hermela said, probably 2-3% of them get the benefit, but the other Tigrayan didn't get benefit. But the Ethiopian is just saying like, okay, because if you're not Tigray, you don't get a job. If you're not Tigray, you don't do this. That the last 27 years, that was our experience. Even me, after I graduate, I don't know nobody in Ethiopia. I
so,
have to come up with something to, you know, to be where I am today. So
so
it's the situation was that.
question here. So someone, Juby World 101 said, most Ethiopians, including the current prime minister, denied the genocide of Amhara people or cleansing left and right. So please ask that. They are the ones who still die in front to save the poor country. So was there an Amhara genocide, TG or Hermela? Were Amharans being killed? Was there like a
Right now, you know, Oromo's like, you know, after Prime Minister Abiy came, took over, and then you know, the Oromo Prime Minister Abiy, actually he's Oromo, okay? So but he said we're not talking about like Oromo, Amhara or Tigray, whatever, right? We're gonna build one Ethiopia. You all Oromia, Tigray, everybody take a power. Whoever wants power, let's work together, right? So the Oromians start feeling like now it's our time. When Prime Minister Abiy take over to the leadership, they feel like, you see, in Ethiopia, let me give you this example. There's one gun, right? So Amhara people have that gun. They were gunning everybody, leading for so long time in the previous years, like 100 years, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the Tigrayan, 27 years, get the gun. They lead people with the gun. So Abiy Ahmed is Oromo, right? So
Okay.
when Abiy Ahmed took the gun, he put it in the safe, in the safety box, and say, this gun, we saw everybody using this gun. It's not helpful. Let's put this in the safety gun and work together. So what happened was the Oromo say, no, Amhara been doing this to us, because they've been fed that narrative from TPLF group. So they like, we're gonna kill Amhara. So they were killing, like 2-3 years ago, they were killing Amharas who live in Oromia region. That's why Amhara people, like, it's a genocide. Now again, when this war happened, the TPLF is like, okay, Amhara militia and Amhara people, completely different people. Amhara militia means they were protecting their region, right? So
Right.
when the government give them command, they go and fight. When the Amhara militia go fight with the TPLF, the Tigrayans and the TPLF group and supporters feel like the Amhara people is trying to kill them. I don't understand why people.
But it was the militia. It wasn't the Amhara people. It was the Amhara.
No, it wasn't the people. The people sitting their home and living their daily life. So the Amhara people. So now the TPLF and their supporter, whatever, start going to Amhara region and then start wiping out, killing innocent Amhara people. That's why right now there is Amhara genocide, because the TPLF say to their people, let's wipe out the Amhara people. But like, it's just the people didn't do anything, and this between people are dying. The Amhara dying, the Tigrayan people dying, everybody is dying. I'm like, bro, why don't you wake up? Especially you diaspora, you eating a fucking McDonald's. I'm gonna be ghetto right here, right? You eating McDonald's, you sleeping in a comfortable bed, and you tweeting behind, say like free Tigray, free independent, shit like that. You know what? At the end of the day, when Ethiopia go down, Tigray go down. Everybody go down. We all go down. You all people gonna be starving, hungry when Ethiopia don't get trades. with
Right.
America or don't get AIDS. I mean, those like supports anything. Ethiopia is starving. Guess what is starving? Tigray too starving. Tigray is not gonna be safe.
So
The whole entire country is not be safe. But you stupid ass sitting here thinking Tigray being like free, right? Or
TG, you always get turned up, TG.
I know it just makes me like,
So look,
bruh, like
let
why
me
we don't get to the
let me read
point
this
where
comment.
we
Let me read
understand the
this comment.
situation is for all of us. You know, my point is this is not about me. This is not
Right.
about Oromo. This is not about ethnicity. This is about our poor people. We already in a position. Me and Hermela, as I say, we don't have to say shit. We're just gonna live our life. We're gonna, you know, we are in a comfortable life, bro.
All
What do
right.
you think?
So let me jump in right here. There's a comment that says, I just want to say thank you to both sisters for being a
Sorry,
voice
guys.
of the oppressed and still suffering Ethiopian people. Thank you so much. I know you guys have had to go through a lot of harassment and threat from the TPLF and their supporters for doing this. So thank you too, ladies. We still have time, but I just wanted to read that comment. Someone is saying thank you for doing this. All right, I'm going to try to pick a fair question here.
I'm just going to turn off my notifications as you do that. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, a lot of comments.
That's why I cannot be like a journalist or anything because I get emotional.
It's
Right.
hard
You know?
though when the lies are become, you know?
Wow. Wow, it's getting pretty deep in these questions here. Yeah, some people really feel that TPLF is a terrorist organization. Seriously. Okay. Okay, here's this question here. Oh, did it post? It did not post. Hold on. Go to one. Wow. Can you please discuss how, here it is. Can you please discuss how the TPLF used hunger as a weapon of war in the 80s to come to power? How it created an ethnic federalist system that is based on liberation. Can we discuss this? Well, let's just deal with hunger. Did the TPLF use, and is the TPLF using hunger? I hear that there are a lot of displaced people in Tigray, and a lot of people aren't able to get food. So let me go to Hermela. Does the TPLF use hunger as a tactic? And then TG, you can tell us, did you notice that when you were younger, did they use hunger?
Yeah, so sadly, weaponization of hunger is in the TPLF playbook. It's like page 1. Okay, so the last time when they were fighting against the communist government, like I said, they had Western backing. As you know, the West was trying to to overthrow communism, bring back capitalism. And ironically, one of the articles that talks about this is a BBC article written by the now mouthpiece of TPLF, Martin Plaut, where what they essentially did is they used they basically brought out, I think it was like 100,000 Tigrayans crossing into Sudan, that 100,000 Tigrayans that were so-called starving, crossing into Sudan, and that's how they got the attention of the West, the One World concert, or the We Are the World concert, all of that. That's what got the attention of the US, which now looking back on it was always backing this group anyway, so that was just an excuse to back them and overthrow the government at the time, which is fine, right? That's neither here nor there. That's a different time. That's communism versus capitalism, a whole lot of things there you can argue about. This time around, the way that they use it is they keep saying there's a blockade, our people are starving, there's famine, and then what they're actually doing is taking that taking that humanitarian aid and feeding their people to actually come back and kill their own brothers and be killed themselves. So they've done this before, where they make this claim of famine, which, you know, honestly to me is just like, how anti-Ethiopia and how anti-Black do you have to be to invoke this idea of famine when it's not the case, when you're actually taking this and then killing the people? Like, why do you want to reinforce African stereotypes just to get back into power, right? Like this picture that you saw in this AP article of started by this woman who I believe is from the US, who just wants to just reinforce the African stereotypes in every way that she can. That picture was so-called given anonymously when she was talking to the hospital that she said that that kid was in the Tigray region, right? I'm a journalist. If you're talking to that hospital and you say this starving kids at that hospital, there's no reason why you can't source that picture to that hospital. My suspicion is she got that picture from a pro-TPLF activist. We don't know where that picture is from. We don't know where that kid is from, right? And so they're okay with showing starving Ethiopian kids wherever that picture is from, just as a way to get political points and just as a way to get U.S. intervention in place, right? So that's what people mean when they use hunger and starvation as a weapon, as a political weapon to get intervention.
I see. But aid is being withheld from certain regions, correct, or no?
It's not. It may be now. It may be
Mm.
now, sadly, for Tigrayans, because the Ethiopian government let a lot of it in, and it hurt a lot of the regions, the bordering regions, for months. First of all, so I had a mom that was in Tigray, right, when this whole war started, right? That was part of the reason why I paid particular attention. She was living in the capital that was controlled by the federal government for the majority of the war. So they came in the first 3 months in, and they controlled that area. The people were getting water, the people were getting food, the federal government was taking care of that city, right? So because they're the government, they're going to do that. Now, when you have areas that are where armed fighting, or where there's TPLF militias that are engaged in armed fighting, you've got to be a little bit strategic about how much aid you allow in. But they did let a lot of aid in anyway, even when the Tigrayan militias were coming into the different regions and killing people. So it's, we don't have a savage government, okay? It's the idea that it's like, it's an African government, it's voted by the African people, so it must be savage, right? Another example of that is when they did some airstrikes recently. The government was hitting military armaments in the Tigray region, military posts. Based on some reports, a few civilians, maybe a couple of dozen total, between 4 or 5 airstrikes were killed. Unfortunate, right? Absolutely sad. But the narrative from the Western media and the hashtag Tigray genocide, folks, is the Ethiopian government is targeting civilians. You gotta understand, the capital of Tigray, Mekelle, is a big city. If they're targeting Tigrayans with Ethiopian Air Force, you just destroy that city, right? But it's like you have to create this narrative, not that this African government is just trying to fight this Western-backed insurgency, but that they're just savage and they're just like arbitrarily, indiscriminately shelling their people, which just isn't true. Because if they were, they'd have taken out that whole city, which is 500,000 people.
There's a question. It says international media and policymakers in the USA support the TPLF and work against the present Ethiopian government and seek revenge against those who remove them from power. I guess that wasn't a question, but a comment. And that's what you've been saying, right? Is that they're kind of supporting the old regime and not the current Ethiopian government.
Yeah, it's like the people have voted. They're allowed to vote. Why is it that the West needs to come in and say, nope, you're going to get this thing that you've known and that you've suffered under for a long time? I mean, this is the hope for liberation of Ethiopia. This is a hope of non-tribal politics that have killed the people for so long, right? This is a hope for a government that's not going to hoard all the wealth, that's not going to just work with external powers who really don't want the best for the majority of the people, who want to loot the resources that country is rich with. There's no reason why Ethiopia should be struggling economically. With the right infrastructure, they have the resources. If you just leave them alone and stop arming insurgencies of this old guard, then they will actually be able to get off their feet.
Someone asked, can you please talk about how specifically Ethiopians' Twitter and YouTube accounts are being suspended and deleted? Have you noticed, or have you seen where if they're in support of the Ethiopian government, they're being blocked or censored or muted?
Yeah, there is. So the hashtag No More campaign took off. I mean, more than that, I mean, I anticipated. People were feeling it. We have allies in the Haitian community and the Venezuelan community that have said, oh my God, yes, no more. Like, this is not about one country. This is about integrity, how the media is countries that are trying to get off their feet. So what a lot of people on the pro-TPLF activist side do is they will mass report accounts in which they don't like what they're saying. They'll say this account is pro-genocide, this account is this. So part of that, or part of the taking down of certain accounts or suspension, comes from that. And I think Twitter needs to fix their policy. It's not who's the loudest and reports the most that should be able to have the power. It's look at the content and what they're really saying. So we have seen a lot of accounts, including our account at Horn of Africa Hub, which I recommend anyone that's just trying to understand the situation. We try to simplify it. We try to really contextualize it. Even our account was suspended for about 11 hours. And I'm pretty careful with that account. It's not just me that helps guide it, but there's other people that are also very careful. They're very much humanitarian. So there's also some Ethiopian media that has been taken down. So there's absolutely, I mean, one of my, I would say mentors at this point, Daniela Ben, who's a Haitian journalist, storyteller, who's been trying to correct the narrative on Haiti for about 20 years. As soon as she saw that Twitter took trending off in Ethiopia when #NoMore was trending, she said, "Yep, part of the playbook. They're doing it to you guys too," right? So it apparently looks like it's a strategy they've used before. We're just the newest targets.
I see. It's you can see in the comments. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. Somebody said, "Dave, please read my comment out loud." It's 1,000 comments, y'all. Let me see here. I'm looking at questions and I'm trying to field the best questions.
I think for the things you say, like for the media and stuff like that, I believe probably, if you ask me if I have like a document to prove that, I don't, but this is like obvious. If America is like in a mission where trying to destroy us and trying to destroy Ethiopia, this is obvious. Americans, corporate company control all the media. So anything that benefits Ethiopia or anything that benefit like the Ethiopian people will be stopped unless Ethiopia stop having issue with Egypt. So it's like that's what we say, like anything that's come to, because if you don't respect 100 million people wish, and you only respect like 7 million people wish, even if we just say the whole Tigrayan wants to do that, maybe so it doesn't even make sense, you know what I mean? And then go after everything that Ethiopian do, and it just doesn't make sense. You can see this is obvious. America is in the war with us because we don't want to deal with Egypt's situation, you know what I mean? So that's the only thing right now is just making, and then TPLF group and then their supporters are a puppet for this situation. They just use them like, as I said earlier, who wants to go fight actually a third world country who doesn't have that much power or to fight or anything? So why they have to fight in the state? Why we don't just create this narrative that people just can't fight each other so we can distract them from growing and being where they want to be? So this is obvious. That's why we like our people are so, I always say, Dave, I'm open-minded. I always say in the way our people is so close-minded, don't even want to see the truth. They just trying to destroy Ethiopia. Ethiopia is like history. Like Tigray is actually the center of history, for Ethiopia, for Ethiopia's civilization. If you go and read history, it's like, in the most of whatever history we have in the background start in Tigray. So they want to destroy this whole thing, and you all Tigray and TPLF followers, TPLF bought by Egypt and America, and you all follow their rules trying to destroy our country. Shame on you. You know what I mean?
Look,
because
so let me jump in
it's
here.
just not nice.
Yeah. It's a lot going on. So people are in the comments, like, how you not going to have a fair debate. You should have on from the other side. It's a lot going on. I'm going to say this right here. Tonight was not meant to be a debate, right? Tonight was meant to be a discussion. Both TG and Hermela came to me and said, "Hey, we'd like to talk about what's going on in Ethiopia, and we want to talk about it from a non-mass media standpoint. We want to talk about it from an individual standpoint and from what we know as Ethiopians." And I said, "No problem." Because like I said, TG is a friend of the show. Hermela is a new friend of the show, and I'm happy to sponsor the discussion. Now, on a genuine night on one of my shows, I might have the other side on, but being that I'm new to all of this, I wanted to make sure I honored their request and gave them a platform.
Yeah, let's
So
do it. And wait, we can answer their questions, but what a lot of them are doing is just cursing people out or
that's
like,
why
Yeah.
I turned off the comments. When I saw the comments getting aggressive, that's when I turned
yeah,
the comments.
And then this is not the time like we really cursing each other. Like, you know, sometimes I get mad at them. I just like, you know, as a human, you get like blah blah. But at the end of the day, you know, it's like blaming everybody. It's because people believe what they want to believe. Sometimes we gotta open our eyes and see what is really coming to us. We are like, all I can say is we are the pro-African. We never been colonized. Our grandparents, my mom was telling me earlier, your grandpa like used to go to war with Italian. So when they wound them, they put a hot butter in their wound to still go fight those Italians. Our great grandparents actually saved Ethiopia and make like Ethiopia the greatest country that never been colonized in Africa. We fought with white people, but now you become puppet for white people,
So now
and
you,
then you just wanted trying to destroy your country. You don't want no more Ethiopia. You know the sad part, they with full mouths, like with full mouths, they used to say they are Ethiopian. Now with full mouths they say we want to destroy Ethiopia. Who are you? Who
yeah.
creates you? All
literally,
that
by the way, literally that has come out of the mouths of pro TPLF
yeah.
activists, right? So they're comfortable out here and they're willing to destroy that country. If their political group doesn't come into power, they have out loud said that, you know, they call it I can't even say it because a curse word, but there's like a derogatory term for Ethiopia. They say down Ethiopia. It's like if we can't run it, let the whole 100 million go and turn into whatever other war-torn country. That's the sentiment of pro TPLF
So
activists.
we're gonna go through questions quickly, you guys, and I think we only have 30 minutes or less, maybe 25 minutes. So I'm just gonna run through questions. We're gonna try to keep the answers short and sweet.
Perfect. I have about 15, by the way, Dave, just so that you know. I just have to
Okay,
be on
and
that.
we'll cut it
Yeah,
off
me
at
too.
15 because once you
Okay.
guys are gone,
Sure. Yeah,
yeah.
let's take a 15 minute. I have to go work too.
And if you guys want to have another discussion next week, we can. And if you want me to open it up where we can bring on people, I only ask that whoever comes on stage, it's not an argument, it's not disrespectful, and it's just sharing your opinion about whatever position you take. And these two ladies are going to have to agree. If they don't want to do it, then I have to have a different live. But I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to support terrorism, and I'm
Mm.
not going to have a bunch of people up here threatening folks or supporting a terrorist group. So if you're a citizen and you understand, you know, how you feel and you're not an active participant in terrorism, then we can have a discussion. But if, you know, if it feels like it ain't right, I'm not even gonna have to talk. So, all right.
Yeah.
So the question is, let's ask the people of Oromo why they are joining hands with the TPLF, as if thousands of them were not shot. So, are Oromos supporting TPLF that you
No,
guys know?
There's a
no.
fringe group, so we don't know the numbers, right? Ormos are actually the majority ethnic group in Ethiopia. I think they make about maybe 50 at least percent of the 100 million people, right? And a majority of them do support Abiy. There's definitely a group that is that's for this group that was actually designated a terrorist group by TPLF during most of their reign, called the Oromo Liberation Association, right? So they're more, they're kind of the other side of the coin in terms of a tribalist. You know, the tribe needs to be over. This tribe needs to be over everybody else. But the idea that Oromos as a whole do not support this prime minister is something that pro TPLF activists make up and overinflate as a way of making it seem that the opposition is a lot bigger than it is. Now, a majority of people don't look at Abiy Ahmed and say this man is God, he's perfect. Some people do, but a lot of people like myself and TG are just using rational assessments and saying we already know what they did and it was very dangerous and very divisive, and it's part of why we're here today. Why not give this new leadership a chance? It seems like he's trying to get rid of this ethnic division. For example, one way that's happening is in Addis Ababa, they're taking your ethnicity off of your ID card. Like, I have family who is, you know, Tigrayan, and they're now safer, especially with all the different divisions because of what's going on, because their ethnicity is not on the card. That's something this current prime minister started, although it hasn't been fully implemented, right? So it's just it's a matter of, are you for the people, or are you for this little bitty of the people that want to take everybody's resources?
Right. A question here says, as someone who has also received an incredible amount of hate for calling for unity amongst all ethno-Eritreans and the diaspora, any advice on how to diffuse the hate? I literally got death threats by TPLF pro-Tigrayan folks. How do you diffuse the hate when you're getting, and let's go to Hermela. How do you diffuse the hate when people are coming at you and you're trying to promote unity and they're coming at like death threats?
So I just say stay focused. I've gotten some little whatever, like they look like death threats. I don't know. I mean, it's people that I know in LA talking a big game on the fake accounts they just created to talk crap, right? So this is what they learned from this regime. This is why the people don't want it, right? Death threats, the harassment because you don't agree with somebody because they're saying let's all unite. I mean, Eritreans share a lot with Tigrayans in terms of ethnicity and language and things like that, right? So for me, it's about staying focused, finding the people that are like-minded, ignoring these haters, ignoring these bullies, ignoring these spoiled brats who say let a whole 10 million people die if we can't have our own. This war has turned into an industry for some of these pro-TPLF folks. They sell jewelry off of it. They sell shirts off of it. They sell, like, you know what I mean? It's like they're over here literally like making money off this war that's killing poor Tigrayans. So there's no need to diffuse the hate with those people. Haters gonna hate. That's what they're gonna do. Let's think about the poor Tigrayans in Tigray that do not have a voice, and stay focused and stay united and partner with Eritreans that are for unity, partner with Somalis that are for unity, partner with Sudanese that are for unity in that horn, because that's the only way we're gonna get out of this cycle of violence and poverty.
Next question says, or next comment says, after all of this, how are we going to become one Ethiopia again? How are we going to dine together with these monsters that are slaughtering their own people and supporting the terrorist TPLF and flaming genocide? How can we be one Ethiopia again?
TG, you want to take that? Yeah.
I think one thing, as I say, we just have to be united. Like, you know, like Hermela, who just put her, you know, like understanding and opening her mind, saying, you know what, I'm gonna go forward for the people. So we all have to have that energy, go together. Like, we can have different opinion even with the current government. We can hate, like, you know, you can be Oromo and hate like Abiy, but don't hate Ethiopia and Ethiopians. Stand with Ethiopians. Whoever comes to destroy Ethiopia, your country means is mother. If your mother is bad, you will never kill her, destroy her, right? It's because your mother, that's your blood. So whoever comes to destroy your mother, you just have to stand, you know, together and say no to all the situation. That's the only thing we can do right now, is like a unity time. As I say, yesterday I went to somebody's live. As I say, like, even Tigrayans, I know we all make a mistake. Even I say some stupid stuff, because when we angry, when we feel like threatened, when we feel like, you know, our people or our families in trouble, we say things, you know, we all say things. Nobody perfect, but open your mind, open your eyes. This is not good for you, for your family back home. We all fight right here, like for our families, you know, our Ethiopia, so we can go, we can call it a home. If America doesn't make us happy, we can go somewhere, we can call it home, you know. So that's what we're fighting for. That's why I say we just stand together for unity. Our political view, it doesn't matter. Look at America, Democrat and Republican, they hate each other, right? They fight each other. But if one thing, if someone trying to come and attack America, what they do, they stand together, you know, because that's how America is great. So that's how we can make Ethiopia great, by standing together. Our political view, it don't matter. You can hate anybody. I can hate this, you can this. That's your political view. But when it comes to our country, like our great grandfather did, whatever it costs, we have to keep our country going. That's all I can say.
Good point, TG. This brings up, and this might be the last question because I think we're running out of time. It says, why do you think the majority of Ethiopians understand and agree who the TPLF are and what they have done for 27 years, but for some reason, a lot of Tigrayans seem blind to this? Why are they not fighting against them? Because they are just as much Ethiopian as anyone. Hermela, how come some Tigrayans are supporting the TPLF and they just don't see the issues that TPLF has done over the last 27 years?
So I think it's a few reasons. So something that hasn't come up in this live, but it's come up in other videos, is I myself did not see the full scope of the atrocities that were committed by TPLF. One of those reasons is that I left the country when I was 7. You know, I was growing up, living my life, wasn't so much paying attention to the politics of Ethiopia. Whatever I did get was from the CNN, the AP, New York Times. As a journalist, I kind of bought it wholesale, what they were saying. They were more speaking about the positive things in Ethiopia, the economic growth, the fastest GDP, but they weren't really talking about all the human rights abuses that were vast and wide during that region. So for me, it was a learning curve, right? As a Tigrayan, who's mostly, my friends are, first of all, from all over the place. First of all, they're not just Ethiopian. They're certainly not just Tigrayan. They're Americans. They're whatever. They're from like United Nations type, right? So I don't even believe in this whole idea of ethnicity or race or even nationality making you loyal to a group regardless of what they're doing, especially to other marginalized people, right? So I do think some people, they went into it for humanitarian reasons like I did, and they're growing, they're learning if they're paying attention. Like, I didn't just keep my circle Tigrayans. I argue with my non-Tigrayan Ethiopian friends. I kept an open mind. I argued with the Tigrayan or pro-TPLF activists that were making certain claims that didn't seem right. And that's why I was able to get to this place. Some folks are only talking to the same people in that echo chamber, so they've been brainwashed. Some of those people, they may never come around. First of all, they ignored the rest of their Ethiopian friends and pretty much all their other friends, so they put all their eggs in this one basket, and they're going to lose that community to some extent if they start asking questions, right? In Tigray, they don't have the right to speak, right? So in Tigray, we don't know what they think. Some of them have been brainwashed, and others have been killed for questioning.
I want to read a comment. Now, this is going against what you guys are saying, okay?
Sure.
And I'm only reading it for balance. This is a comment that I got directly on one of my posts. I'm going to stop these comments for a second. All right. It says, you're hosting people who want Tigrayans to die silently. Okay. It says, congrats. They played you for pro-government propaganda. This is history repeating itself. The government deliberately starving people to win a war. The government. Okay.
The government let in 1,000 troops.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Okay, finish.
The government deliberately starving people to win a war. They did it to Tigray and Eritrea in the 80s, and they're doing it all over again. Tigrayans have been protesting for literally a year globally. These new pro-government protests just begun, and all of a sudden they hold more weight. If Ethiopia ain't got nothing to hide, let the world gain access to Tigray. Let all the media and the world food programs in so people who still have a chance to live can live. It's that simple. So it sounds like this person is saying, and their hashtag is Free Tigray. It sounds like they're saying that the Ethiopian government is starving Tigrayans, and that they did this before to Tigray and Eritrea in the 80s.
I'd love to answer that, Dave, and I will send you documents to back this up, right? The Ethiopian government, once again, was letting in aid after they declared a humanitarian ceasefire in June. Before that, they were taking care of the regions that they were under control. I have family there, so I know that they were taking care of the people. Even while there was fighting happening, there were federal workers that were every 2 or 3 months going to pick up the check. Because why? The Ethiopian government is not interested in eliminating Tigrayans. They're the government of Tigrayans as well. So what that person, whether intentionally or unintentionally, is choosing to ignore is that aid was going in, and the places where the federal government was in power, even when they weren't, were taken care of. They let UN Ethiopia called it out. They said all these trucks went in. The head of WFP said the fact that these trucks didn't come back, mind you, 500 plus at the time, it grew to about 800 to 900, is the primary impediment of why humanitarian aid has been slowed down in Tigray, right? So that person is selectively choosing what they want to believe. And the sad part is the people that are hurting the most by that kind of propaganda are the Tigrayans themselves.
Okay. So look, ladies, I think I'm running out of time because I think I've been on for almost another hour. Sometimes my timer stops and I don't know because I think Instagram is still hating on me. But
You know, it's all good. Keep doing
reporting
you.
you. They report everything, so
I know.
they probably are reporting you now. That's why that's like we say, they don't accept civil conversation. They always want to fight with the fight where trying to shut down everybody else. They've been doing this for
That's very true.
27 years. They've been shutting us down back home. We out the same thing. So that's why probably your time.
It's hard to hear you. I think your mic. There you go.
Can you hear me? Yeah, no, they've been doing this. They reporting you whatever reason right now because this is how their mechanism is. This is how they've been trained, and this is how they've been doing back home too. So
here's what I want to. This is clearly a very controversial topic. I would love to host another talk. Not tonight. It's a bunch of people in my DMs. Tonight I'm not gonna do it tonight, you guys. I really don't think I'm gonna do it tonight. But what I would like to do is host another discussion about this next Tuesday, if it's possible. For those that know me, I have a podcast that I host on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So tomorrow, Friday, it will not be about the news. It'll be about relationships. So if you want to talk about relationships, you can get on my show and all of that. But if you want to talk about politics and world affairs, that'll be maybe next Tuesday or Wednesday, if these two ladies can join me again. I would love to have another perspective on, but I want someone that's civil and someone that is reasonable and someone that is just sharing their opinion and not putting forth propaganda from the TPLF or anything like that. I want them to just share their opinion, and I would love a discussion. So if you guys know of someone, or if I can send you guys suggestions, let me know who you would like to engage with, because I think
good luck
it would be good.
Yeah, good luck finding that person. To be honest, this is it. This is any reasonable Tigrayan. This is it. This is as reasonable as it gets.
The sweetest. You got the last one, and they don't make her no more. They don't make Tigrayans. Don't make no
That's
more.
right, because
like Hermela. So she's the last Mohican.
Oh, they're there. They're being held hostage. I believe in the people there.
I don't know, because from my experience, you're the last Mohican.
It's the diaspora. It's the diaspora. The diaspora is the problem. I still believe in the people there. They're suffering the most.
For sure. People in Tigray, I mean, whoever suffered like the other Ethiopian, for sure. But here in America, the last Mohican, they don't make her no more.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk in the future. Hopefully next week. You've been watching Dave Life TV News. This is a discussion on the Ethiopian Tigrayan conflict. I want to thank Hermela for joining me. And I always get your last name wrong. That's why I haven't said it.
You're good.
Aragawi.
First name basis is cool.
Aragawi?
Yeah, you're right.
All right. And then TG Tristan, thank you for joining, ladies. For everyone that I didn't get to your comments, I apologize. For everyone that felt like it was one-sided, the intention was to bring light upon their position and their perspective. And the mainstream media isn't covering their perspective. That's the whole reason we did this.
They're going to be all right.
If you want to talk about the TPLF, or should I say the Tigrayan perspective, not necessarily the TPLF, hit me in the DMs. If you're reasonable, if I can vet information about you, I may have you on. If not, don't take it personal. I'm just here to share the information. Okay? It's Dave Life. You're watching Dave Life TV News. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much, Dave. Really appreciate your time.
Love you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. What a night. What a night. What a night. So this was a good episode, you guys. We've been watching Dave Life TV News. It's a huge conflict right now in Ethiopia, a Tigrayan conflict. It's a war. I apologize to everyone that was not able to get on. Please follow Dave Life TV, Dave Life After Dark, and support. If you'd like to support, you can send a tip to $Dave Life TV on Cash App or to @Dave Life on Venmo. $Dave Life TV on Cash App or @Dave Life on Venmo. I appreciate everyone for your support. Let's have a discussion. It's about discussions. So maybe next week I'll try to bring someone on from the other side. Thank you for being patient. God bless you. It's Dave Life with Dave Life TV News. Peace.